What's up, everybody? My name is D, and I do a stupid-ass intro every time. Dumbass.
Look, drunk girl. D. She stole your thunder.
She stole my whole thunder.
Go ahead, D.
Welcome to another episode of The Triangle. This is your boy, D.
Oh, my God.
That's rude-ass Brandi.
That's rude-ass Brandi. And I'm CJ. Yo, girls.
And I do my own intro, niggas. So, let me tell you this. I may or may not be inebriated from a Christmas party.
She is. Ain't no maybe. Ain't no maybe. She is.
So let me know what y'all feel about this. I had someone give me a Christmas gift. That's known me for a minute. But they spelled my name wrong.
With a Y?
Now we have a competition going on who's gonna give the best gift, because I'm a bomb ass gift giver. So I don't feel like nobody shits on me. So he gave a bomb gift because it's jewelry and I love it. CJ, you would live for this necklace, this bomb. But I'm like, nigga, you lost because you spelled my name wrong. So by default, the Y instead of an I, nigga, you lose. I win. Like I texted him and I said, I don't even. You lose. I said, I don't even know. I said, I can't open this present. He was like, why? Because I said, because this is addressed to Brandi with an Y, and I'm with an I, so I can't open the shit.
Man, he fucked up, didn't he?
He fucked up. But I'm Brandi with a Y or an I.
We heard you the first 3 times on this episode.
Yeah. I'm Brandi.
Anyway,
I'm Brandi.
Merry Christmas.
Let me stop hyping her up.
That's what I'm hyping her up.
Happy holidays, everybody. I think this episode drops right after Christmas Day, so it'll be a Happy New Year time. I think this is the last episode of the year, isn't it?
Oh my
gosh.
I think so.
Look at us being consistent, because you know some other people had some shit and it wasn't consistent throughout the year.
Oh
So
no, nigga.
Look at us.
Yeah, because our next episode is after this. Will be the second day of January. We starting. This is our last one for 2019. Next one's gonna be for 2020. So
2020
to us.
We're so consistent and authentic.
You know what? Speaking of which, I talked to one of my girls in Nebraska. I didn't even know she was listening to our podcast at all till today, and she was saying something about D, because I used to call D all the time and talk about conspiracy theories and shit all the time. And she was like, "It's nice to put a face to the name finally," because she was my roommate too for a while, and I just be on the phone like hours, like what we do now, like hours, just talking about stupid shit. She was like, it just is like you talking to people at 3 a.m. in the morning. I was like, as a matter of fact, that is exactly when we record our fucking podcast. It's in the middle of the night. I think it's easier to get things to be weirder in the middle of the night.
It's easier for people to process shit like, hey, you know, we can't possibly be the only living beings out here, right? Like, there's no way. It's just not logically possible that we are the only. Now, what I do believe, are we the only human beings? I'll give you that.
Possibly.
Are we the only living creatures? Nah, nigga.
Not really.
I don't even think we're the only kinds of humans. I think there are different kinds.
Well, in that sense, I think how human we are, like, this is it. But are there like different versions of humans or whatever? Yeah, I'll give you that.
Humanoid type of
humanoid or whatever. Like, look, better than us. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Do I think it's like Star Trek? Probably not. But like,
no, not like Star Trek at all.
You know what's closer to me and my thinking though is almost like what's that stupid movie with Channing Tatum and what's her face?
Oh my God, Jupiter Rising.
Yeah, Ascending or Rising or whatever.
Rising, same shit.
Something. Jupiter Ascending, like I'm down for that theory too. Like we like a tiny little speck in the universe. Other people fucking
we are.
You know, might be the reason why nobody wants to contact us, even though we put out all kinds of stuff into the universe.
And they were like, "We're good on Earth. We're
gonna
go somewhere."
Like the trailer park people of the universe.
We probably are.
We probably are. You know what? We were probably in our height when they were doing like when Egypt was at its like height.
Yeah.
That's when they were probably like, you know, we can probably fuck with them.
Yeah.
And then stuff went south. And they was like, nah.
You know what?
Nah,
we're not using. It is because you know why? Let me tell you something. CJ probably already know.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm back. No, I'm not. I'm back. CJ probably already know this because, you know, she know everything. But they had noticed when Nefertiti and the images of her were being done, that her head was shaped differently than anybody else was when they're going through anything else in Egyptian history. And they're like, that has to be because of other beings coming here, them recognizing them for who they really were, and then, of course, portraying that through the art, because art was huge. And dare I say, more respected back then than it is now.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you tell somebody you're an artist now, they be trying to play you. And I'm like, do you know everything is art? It's in everything. You like a car because of how it is artistically. You know what I mean? Like, it is important. But anyway, aesthetics are important.
It is.
So anyway, I'm like, I totally believe that when we were using both sides of our brains, when we weren't all bogged down by electronics and the food, that maybe other beings was trying to fuck with us like that.
You know what? That's so true.
When we weren't, they were like, nah, we good. We not even finna.
I think once we started like killing each other for stupid shit, they were like, yo, like, they dumb as fuck. We're about to leave these niggas alone. Let's go.
It's like they're killing each other. They're supposed to be conspiring to kill us.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
they got the game twisted.
They were like, if anything, you protect yourself from maybe somebody else that wants to blow up your planet. Not messing with each other. Like, we got whole places that where women just got their driver's license.
Man, say that again. For real.
Crazy.
I know. I just talked to my son about that because I talked to him about everything. So I was like, historically, he had asked me something about like, we were talking about politics. I tried to talk to him in a way I was not talked to about stuff. I didn't get to learn about the real world and stuff until I got in the real world. And then by then it's too late.
Learn it on your own.
Yeah. So I was like, well, the world definitely is not ready for someone of a female stature to be in power. And it's not that we can't do it. It's just because of how the patriarchy's been and everything else. I'm like, I would be afraid to have a woman as a president because I know how other people would look at that. Not because I don't think she's capable, but because we would be looked at as weak. It will be World War III before we know it. It would be some bullshit. And I don't feel like it's right, but it's just the lay of the land.
There's very few countries with female presidents and leaders like that.
Very few.
And it's not right, but I get how it's set up, and I'd be more comfortable with us expanding and having men of color until we get to that point where it's a woman or woman of color, rather than just throwing a woman of color in there because she's white. That ain't gonna work out too well. Like,
gang 2020.
Gang.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god. Anywho, so technically today's episode is supposed to be about some
whatever we want. Oh
my god. So good. Sorry guys. She's like eating a plate of Christmas goodies and just tipsy and
whoa, CJ, I am the Christmas goodie. That's
excuse me.
Not night goodies.
I'm done. But no, so technically tonight we're supposed to be talking about the history and origin of some of our favorite Christmas things that we celebrate and do and rituals and shit like that. I don't know. Anybody want to start? Take a hit at something? Anything you want to talk about?
I got to see a video a long time ago that was showing these Christmas cards that were done in London.
Oh, yes.
Which has, if you ever have the time in the middle of the night to look up just the history over there, it's pretty fucking crazy. But in the Christmas card, they had like really graphic versions of the devil there. Because they would tell the kids, now listen, this was legit. They would tell the kids, you either get a gift from Santa or the devil is coming to get you. Because it's one or the other, which makes sense because a lot of heavy Catholicism and everything else was over there. So it makes sense why they would go that hard. But I just couldn't believe that that was their version of a Hallmark card. Yeah. Which just had like the devil on it, and it was just their norm. And then, and I know CJ can go more in depth about this, but just figuring out like pagan history about the Christmas tree.
Okay, so what the fuck does the devil have to do with the card? That's fucking my mind up right now.
They would scare the kids because they were doing a mix between what they knew at that time, because I don't know if this is 16th or 17th century, what they knew at the time about Christmas, and mixing that with what they're pushing agenda-wise with religion. So it makes sense to marry the two and be like, all right, if you're not good, the devil's coming for you.
So that they mixed it all. It was like the 1600s,
So
I believe.
that makes sense why they merged that, because then you're using, and I don't feel like every religion does this, but I'm just putting that out there as a disclaimer, but then you're using the power that religion can have over a whole culture or region or whatever, and pushing that fear, because fear is very powerful in getting things done. So if you have the fear of, damn, the devil's gonna come for me if I'm not good, and then on top of that, most people want their kids to act like they got some goddamn sense anyway, having a Christmas card with the devil on it would have me shook. I'd be like, all right.
You know what's crazy about that whole thing is that it trickled down over the centuries. So they had the devil thing. They switched it up and had like Saint Nick and Krampus, right? And then Krampus ended up like being represented by reindeers and Santa. And that's why like Santa and the reindeers technically represent the horned god in pagan religion. And that's why we have reindeers.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
So that's why what she's saying is really funny, because when kids act up around the holidays, people are like, well, Santa's not going to bring you anything. It is literally the same
watered
thing.
down version.
Yes.
Got you.
And
That's
a lot of,
fucked up.
and there's other crazy theories. I'm not one for this one, but there is a theory out there that because if you rearrange the name Santa, it turns into Satan. They are saying that it was part of the wordplay that they use, like spell casting, to do that on purpose. Isn't that crazy?
Which is not far-fetched. Wow. Thinking about everything else we believe and we're open to, that is not far-fetched. And when I was listening to that lore podcast that I love, they were talking about in Hungary, and I want to say, I don't know if it's Austria, but you know, a lot of those places ended up like kind of, they're literally the same area, but the names switched in the area.
Oh, changed through,
yeah, but it's literally still the same area. So I'll say like Eastern European folklore. That's a good way to put it. But they were talking about the 15th, 16th century, after the whole Pied Piper incident, which is an interesting incident we'll talk about on a different, episode. But they were talking about the correlation between when they started these witch hunts and Santa. And I'm not going to spoil it for you, because I'm telling you, y'all just have to listen. I will push another podcast if I really love it. And I love Lore podcast by Aaron Mankey. It's amazing because he really goes into depth. He really gets his CJ on with fact checking, and to know that there is a direct correlation between the folklore of witches and their broomsticks and the flying and Santa is insane. Because the way we view Santa now is nothing but this goody good guy that comes through and gives presents. But how do we view a nigga like that who talks about seeing you when you're sleeping and knowing when you're
awake?
That's weird.
I always thought that was a little creepy.
It's a lot of creepy.
It's a lot of like a lot of the Christmas stuff is like that. It's been trickled down, watered down, and the reason that happened is because what's his name? Constantine, not Keanu Reeves' character, but the real Constantine.
How do we know it wasn't Keanu Reeves?
Yes.
We don't.
He wanted to make, Christianity one of the main religions across of where he was living. So instead of like picking a new holiday, he decided to go with a lot of people who were already pagan. Like that celebrate
like the winter solstice, right?
Yeah, the solstice. They already celebrated around. It was between like December 17th and 20 something. Like what Christmas is now, that time period. So he was like, "What if I took what they're using, like the tree, the evergreen, incorporate that into our Christian systems?" And they just kept taking and taking and taking from paganism. By the way, original meaning of paganism, did you know, look at Brandi with her Christmas cookie. Did you know pagan technically means anybody who's not Christian or Muslim?
Yes.
That was the original meaning. I think a lot of people think that paganism is like people who are witches and worship the dead.
They do, because nobody wants to read.
Right. Okay? So it doesn't actually mean that. Pagan people.
But CJ's a witch though.
I might be. I'm a light worker.
CJ. I was invited into a coven. Let me tell you, yes, bitch. Without even trying,
what
bitch.
the fuck?
I mean,
You witches could never. So this is how it happened. I'm at the bar, as I am every weekend. These girls come in. They are done up. I have pictures because they let me take pictures of them.
Ooh, you gotta send it to me later.
They did female versions of Krampus because their one friend that had the Baphomet jacket on was like, yo, I wanted to do this, so whatever. And I noticed her jacket like from there, because once you start noticing symbols and stuff, they just
absolutely.
So I was like, y'all might be playing, but she not playing.
Right.
So anyway, they had they had horns, stuff, beautifully done. I have pictures. I'll send it to you on your messenger. Really great. They're talking about hexes and stuff. One of them was like, you should join our coven. I was like, yeah, listen.
there's one.
I work better alone.
Yeah.
But thank you for the invite. Don't hex me on your way out. But I thought that was really interesting, especially because I'm always joking with you about this stuff. But I was like, I have to tell CJ. I have to send her pictures.
Maybe the universe is sending you symbols because all these things are happening to you about that. I'm just
one of you. Let me get my hood
but
up.
for real,
But she has the outfit to match.
She does. Look at her. I'm done. So done.
Yeah, they saw my outfit. They were like, she can totally join.
I mean, you know, like,
so
I don't know.
back to that whole evergreen thing. So did they bring the evergreens into the house because they believed that the evergreen was supernatural because it was the only form of, like, I guess, tree life?
Yeah, that was part of it.
Did not die in the wintertime. So
and
they brought it in the house to bring in the good spirits or whatnot.
And it represented, like, you know, the circle of life. So did the wreath. So you know how we have Christmas wreaths? That comes from them using, it was the Druids and another group of people, like pagans and Druids, I guess, who used holly wreath to make sure that they represented, like, the circle of life. And that's why we have wreaths.
And for those that don't really understand what CJ was saying, if we're looking at everybody who's viewed as pagan as anyone who isn't Christian, that means that everyone else was dealing with what you would call witchcraft or magic or whatever. And so every time you are putting up your Christmas tree or your wreath or you're buying these decorations, that's technically a form of ritual. Or people that celebrate different versions. Now, people do it differently because I know here they have like a winter solstice fest and they go they dance inside and they have like food and stuff, but you're still celebrating something at a certain time, a certain day, a certain hour for a reason. All of that stuff means something. So what I find very interesting is like super hardcore Christians, because I know it's not every Christian, so don't come for me in the comments.
Don't come.
super hardcore Christians just go so hard against everything that isn't lined up exactly how they want. But I'm like, but bitch, not only are you still doing this Christmas tree and the wreath, but you're doing a slew of other pagan and Druid things that you had. And again, don't take our word for it, because we'll tell you this every time. Do the research yourself, especially anything Druid. Do the research, because it's all in what we do now. Even our calendar, like the months and what they're named. And
why are the months missing? Why are they off by 2? You ever notice that?
Listen.
What do you mean? Oh,
they're off by 2. When you get to like October is the 10th month.
Yeah,
it's off by 2. It's supposed to be the 8th month because it's October.
It's because of
and then
how
November and December.
We decided to run the calendar on the Gregorian calendar, but I mean, I guess it's because they wanted to control people, obviously through religion.
Amen.
Right, and so like they just decided, like even the Yuletide log, like it's crazy because the Yule log isn't just to keep your house warm, it was to ward off evil spirits. So in some witchcraft, like this is literally witchcraft, people, but like in some Wiccan like beliefs, you burn the Yule log to ward off evil spirits the whole solstice night, right? And then you keep part of it throughout the year inside of your like fireplace to keep your
I literally
protected.
read something about that a couple of days ago, because I know there's some song that talks about the Yuletide carol.
Yes.
And I was like, but when I was reading about it, I was like, wait a minute, I never knew Yule, the root of it meant this. And I hear that, and I know it's not all of them, and CJ can probably tell us because she's a witch, but a lot of a lot of witches I'm hearing deal in the rule of first, as in the first meaning of something is what it really means, and then y'all take it for whatever you want to take it later. So I've kind of adopted that because I believe there's definitely truth in that. And people twist up things and spew it back out to the benefit of whatever culture they're trying to run at the time, whatever dynasty they're trying to run at the time. It makes sense. So if you can start looking at history and holidays in that aspect, it's a lot easier to digest and understand why there's this huge clusterfuck of
it's so
everything
crazy
mixed together.
Like,
so nothing's really like 100% right because you're mixing up everything.
Like everything. So like the original pagan like druid like celebration is called Saturnalia, that happened in December, and that's like the name we used for the weekday, like Saturday. And then the reason why the next day is Sunday is because of the sun god, right?
I have read that.
Like, I'm not going to get into it like hardcore, but if you look those two things up, there's a reason why most religions have Sabbath or special days on Saturday or Sunday. They pick one or the other.
Which is even funny church-wise, because apparently we all supposed to be going to church on a Saturday. But
I found that out. I was like, have I been doing it wrong this whole time?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
This whole time. But again, anybody listening to us, look this up for yourself. Because we're not making this stuff up.
No,
it's out there.
Because Sunday is supposed to be technically the day of rest, which means that you're not supposed to be doing anything. You're not supposed to be going to church. You're not supposed to be doing anything at all like that. And Saturday is the day of Saturn, which is supposed to be the beginning of all the things that you need to get done. So you do everything on Saturday and then rest on Sunday. Like that's
just like
what
your car
I
is a
understood.
Saturn.
Your what? Your car?
I said just like your car is a Saturn.
Oh
or Sirius. You ever look at that in the constellation and the dog? Yeah. I know I'm a little tipsy right now, but look at all this shit connected. All this
more than a little.
Connected.
It is. I mean, even with the holly wreath, because like when they magicians and like certain groups of people who needed like wooden sticks to do their magic, they would use the Hollywood to do that.
Y'all heard what she said, right?
Yes. So
y'all heard what she said,
look
right?
at Dee's face.
Hollywood.
Look at Dee. Hollywood. It's literally the tree, the holly tree. Look at Brandi. Get out of the camera, Brandi. Get out of the camera, Brandi.
Because it's truth. Like we need to do in January, we need to do another conspiracy episode ASAP. Granted, if any of us go missing, y'all know it's because we was talking.
I'm not going missing.
Y'all know it's because we was talking too much.
They already snatching us up off the street.
I'm just
right
saying
now.
that there's the thing is like it's like Brandi said earlier. Once you start to research and see connections in the words, in the symbols, and the things that are happening around you, like I realize now why we would have never got famous in that way, because we would have to give up our souls, so to speak, in order to become.
And you literally would have
infamous.
to turn a blind eye to stuff that you know ain't
right.
Wrong.
And
intuitively, because everybody doesn't have that about themselves. So I'm spiritually mature enough to realize that there's some stuff that's already in you, whether you want to call it God, the universe, whatever. There are a lot of us out here that already know intuitively something isn't right. You don't even know exactly what it is. And like Demetrius was telling a couple episodes back, you may see a color, you may feel something, you may see things manifest, and you're like, you know what? This isn't right. This isn't for me. Understand that is your truth. That's your higher spirit, man or woman, whatever you want to call it, talking to you. Go with that. You're not wrong in that, because there's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of stuff in the atmosphere. There's a lot of people making this world the way it is, and they've been doing it for centuries. And they are rooted in some old, deep, evil shit. And I mean,
isn't
like,
crazy? Isn't that crazy?
True.
Like, so, like, there's like this struggle that's consistently going on, like constantly going on between good and evil. And a lot of people think like the good and evil thing is just like spiritual. It's really not just spiritual. It's like literally like everything you touch is like part of that. Even like Christmas, if you think about it, like people are like, oh, it's Jesus's birthday. Technically,
Huh.
If you read the Bible, it was sometime between spring and early October. They can't even pinpoint it because they know that it wasn't snowing or it wasn't cold. They just know it was
not with the way
spring.
they was walking around with gifts in the desert. It wasn't cold.
Walking around with gifts, and then when they were sending the debt collectors that took place in that
let me tell you something about Black people. We not finna be walking out.
Not in this cold.
And we delivering some gifts.
You know, and then
we gonna catch you married later.
Right, and also it wouldn't make sense in their part of the country and their continent for people to be walking around in that cold, in that atmosphere. Right. Because can you imagine what the desert is like when it's already cold at night during the summer? And then it's winter months?
Let alone December. But we're also talking about a culture that decided to make the historical figure of Jesus, because whether you believe he was who the Bible says he was or not, right. I think most people can agree historically this figure existed.
Okay, so Jesus,
but he was definitely not white. But the fact that we want to make him white and make him born in December,
you know what happened there, right?
For what?
So the typical picture of Jesus that you see.
You don't start off with did you know?
Did you know?
Yeah.
I heard about that. Is it someone's son?
It's isn't it Constantine himself or his son or something like that? It's something Constantine like himself, I think.
Have you seen the images together? Have you seen the images?
It's him. It's like the portrait of Constantine and the portort of Jesus.
It's
is the
literally
same person.
how somebody transposed an image of the Mona Lisa, and was it who painted it? I'm so sorry, I'm drawing a blank.
Leonardo da Vinci?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And they were transposing what he would have looked like, and it was the same thing, just him as a female.
Right.
Literally the same thing with Jesus and him. And I'm just like, this is all to push an agenda.
Yes.
It's all to push a power agenda to keep the people in control, to keep them lulled over. And it's also not surprising that this happens around Christmas, because did you know? Have you noticed, even spiritually or energetically, whatever people want to fucking call it, people act more crazy at the turn of a new year than anything else.
Oh, absolutely.
All around, they even have cute little ways of, calling the holiday hustle and bustle and all this and other. But now that I'm older and trying to research more and understand things on a different plane than what I've been taught, I'm like, there has to be something else going on.
Yeah.
There has to be something else going on.
And there's literally a clinical term, did you know, called holiday depression now, because of the way people are acting. And it's a real thing. It's not made up. It's not just in their heads. It literally affects them mentally and physically.
And there's a huge spike in suicides.
Oh, yes.
Oh, God, I was just about to say that, Dee. Just the suicide rate around this time of year. I'm like, this can't just be because people are missing people at Christmas and Thanksgiving. Not shitting on anybody that's lost somebody around this time, because I understand emotionally how that goes. Just being in counseling myself, I get it. But I'm like, spiritually, on a different plane, there has to be something else going on.
I think it has to do a lot with the vibration of the world is changing right now, right? Everybody's either vibrating really, really high or really, really low. There's a lot of people who are not in the middle anymore. So either you are so sidetracked by social media, being on your phone, watching YouTube videos all day long. I hate to say that because we put out YouTube videos. We're educational though and helpful.
Yeah, watch our YouTube videos.
Watch ours. Yes, but so there are people who are really you watch I can't watch reality shows anymore. I used to be able to. I used to, long time ago, when I was a lot younger. D, you just like messy drama, that's why.
I used to love Housewives, and I can't even watch it anymore.
I can't do it.
I used to love Housewives of Atlanta, and I'm like, I can't do it.
But here's but what I mean, D, is you're not to the point where you're obsessed with the shows. I have seen and heard people literally talking about hip hop wives or whatever, whatever the show is, they talk about these people they know them, which is really weird to me, because I'm like, yo, they're half of it is acting, half of it is reality on those shows, right?
And you'll have the people that aren't even on the shows anymore basically telling you, because they put it out there. Because the great thing about social media now is if somebody wants to put a whole show on blast, they can and be like, this was fake. This was scripted, and there are people that are no longer regular show runners on the show that come out and they're like, nah, this wasn't real, and this was
No,
this.
because they were mad that they got cut or whatever, and they just come out and say it. And that's cool too, but people are taking that so seriously. Like, it's entertaining. Like, I get it, but if you go to this next spectrum of being consumed with it, it like lowers your vibration like completely.
But even it being entertaining, you have to look at the psychological aspect of
absolutely.
That.
The
like,
addicting
why
part
the
of
fuck
that
is this drama entertaining? Because nothing is positive really about it consistently. There's positive moments, but for the most part it is drama. So it's like, why is this selling?
I mean,
why is this
I have something interesting about that. So I remember watching a documentary. They were talking about the first season of The Real World. And it was completely unscripted. Nothing was scripted. Everybody was very normal. The cast,
old school.
Oh,
it was so
really
normal. Yeah, it was so normal that the producers were like, "This isn't gonna sell because this is boring as fuck." Everybody was just getting along, talking.
Everybody was being normal humans.
Normal. Everybody vibed. Yeah, normal humans. So the producers went in and were causing drama. So I guess one of the guys was like a model or something. So I don't know if they misplaced one of his pictures or destroyed it, or they did something, but they ended up altering something to start a fight.
Wow.
And then when they found out that it was the producers, they were like, if you guys are going to keep doing this, we're going to leave the show. So that was like the first real, true, authentic, you know what I mean, version of any reality show was that season. And after that, I'm pretty sure they went on to start scripting things and maybe altering things, starting drama.
Like interviewing people, they would purposely get somebody who was like Muslim and get somebody on the other, side of the spectrum.
Exactly.
They would go so extreme where it's like, there's going to be conflict.
I mean, like the crazier your entry video was, the more likely you were to make it onto the show. I do remember doing
and people knew that.
And because one of the shows, I can't remember what season, an Oki kid, one of the girls from Kubasaki, made it onto the show. And the reason she made it onto the show is
I remember that girl.
She was an alcoholic, right? She was a drinker like we are, but she was past just like drinking heavily. Like, I think
was she on Ruthie status? Because she was the GOAT.
She was like, let's get this. Like, she was basically she was on an alcoholic level, like in a different place, because she couldn't control any of the stuff that she was doing while intoxicated, even if she was drinking twice a week. Like, you can be a once a week drinker and still be an alcoholic because you can't control yourself. You know what I mean? And you
can't
overdo
yourself,
it. Right. So that's the definition of that, basically, if you have no control over it. And there's a couple other people that I've seen on MTV or BET from who I know, like, in person, that made it onto these shows because of how crazy their entry video was. And I'm telling you, the crazier they sounded, the crazier they acted, the more like insane everything was, the producers were more likely to pick you up. Like, you couldn't be normal. Like Dee said, you couldn't be normal and be on the show. Like, you had to be something.
Because they're worried it wasn't going to sell.
Or you had to be the other extreme, because they used to pick up one or two girls or guys from bumfuck nowhere, USA, from a tiniest town that you never knew.
Nothing, that only like kissed one guy in their whole life.
Never seen a black person before. Like,
yeah, exactly. And I'm just like, child. I hated that.
But it's like they do it on purpose because that's what sells, and it's just like sex sells, drama sells, all of that shit. Like,
wait a minute. Wait.
What is it?
What? Hold on.
What? I don't know what Brandi's doing. Oh, guys, she got up. Her phone's moving.
Hold on, I'm here.
Listening. I don't know what's happening.
Where are you going?
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I gotta put my glasses on.
Oh, shade time.
Oh shit.
Why does Demetrius not have anything Christmassy on?
Demetrius.
But you and I have Christmas.
I smell like Christmas because I've been cooking all day.
Oh, okay. We'll give you that.
I smell like Christmas.
Well, bitch, we don't have smell-o-vision.
And I'm wearing blue. This is a Hanukkah. This is Hanukkah. It's blue.
Representing everybody.
Well, where's the Kwanzaa? Is you just black? Is that the Kwanzaa?
Kwanzaa starts on the 26th.
Oh, yeah, it's the day. Oh, our video will drop on the 26th.
I know.
Happy
I'm like, it drops beforehand, so nothing.
What is that damn song that people sang that was like Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever that was? Remember that shit?
Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa.
Some shit like that. It was so crazy. I'm gonna have to find it.
Do you guys do anything else other than like traditional Christmas? Do you do Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, anything?
Like,
I
because
want to know what the fuck Kwanzaa is, honestly. What is it? Everything that I learned about Kwanzaa up to this point, I learned from one of my white teachers.
Well,
and they used to always say, Demetrius, do you celebrate Kwanzaa? And I'm like, what the fuck is Kwanzaa? You guys ask me that shit every fucking year. And everybody's like, what do you celebrate? I'm like,
you should have been like, why would you
celebrate?
Ask me? Why would you ask me that?
No, I understand why. So like, I think it just depends on what part of the country you're from, because I don't understand Kwanzaa either, and I'm not going to pretend to understand it because I've never celebrated it. And for what I thought it was more of a actual African celebration, not just a Black celebration.
What I thought.
That's what I understood from the one
so we on the same page.
Of like Rugrats that I watched that talked about Kwanzaa.
Rugrats educating.
I knew about Hanukkah. Rugrats went over Hanukkah too.
Right. They sure did.
Rugrats did over Hanukkah.
Yeah, Rugrats came through. They was woke. They was coming through.
They was.
So between Rugrats and Little Bill is how I knew about Kwanzaa. But I'll tell you one thing: most of the African American families that I knew were so Americanized, where it wasn't no real like Kwanzaa like that. Like people try to shame Black people now, and I know somebody's probably listening that's probably either had it done or is doing it. Don't shame nobody Black for not knowing when Kwanzaa starts, when it ends, what's it about? Because guess what? Yo, Black 900% African ass didn't know either. And I say 900% African ass because unfortunately, between the raping that was done, between a lot of y'all old great grandmothers, none of us is 100% anything.
You know what the other part of that is?
Dark as an Android phone right now.
Like, so did you know that with all the forensic technology that's happening right now, they are figuring out that not all Black Americans are from Africa. So I think I talked about it with somebody from here. So like Africans, Black people who migrated from Africa already was here.
I heard about that.
Right? So like the indigenous people originally, now here's where I'm going to split hairs and people are either going to hate me or love me for it. The indigenous people as we know it are not the actual Native Americans of the Americas. Have you ever heard, like, you know how almost all Black people go, part Indian? There is a reason for that. It's because our Black asses are Indian. Like, if you look at my dad's side's great grandmother, who was Apache, she is Black. She does not look like what we call like indigenous Indian Native American people now, who almost look like Mesoamerican, or even there's a theory that some of them were Mesoamerican and some of them were Italian actually and mixed in, and that's why they look
Italian.
Some European people who snuck in just to get land. And so, because they looked so much alike, because a lot of European people in that area had darker skin, like Greek people.
And Italian of people from Jump had darker skin. I watched a movie that was in my queue for the longest time recently, Australia. And I had been wanting to watch it with Nicole Kidman and Hugh Jackman because I truly do love them doing their craft because they're good. But the storyline was nothing like I thought it was going to be.
Oh, no.
I ended up, I could understand why the movie wasn't critically acclaimed because I was like, this movie was bad. However, it highlighted something I never paid attention to with Australia, and the indigenous people there, they were black.
Oh, yeah. Like, the Aborigines? Yeah, they're Black.
Man, I never knew it. So I looked it up, right? And for all the people that love to clown Black women for having their hair like they are, saying, oh, they need natural hair color. Them niggas had blonde hair.
Yep. And so do people in parts of Southern Africa
right now. Yeah, so I'm like, and then I've seen one with red, and I've seen ones with their blue eyes and stuff. So I'm like, we were literally the first of everything.
The people.
And then what they did was so messed up because white men just love fucking us.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't care how y'all feel about that, whoever's listening. Y'all like fucking us. So and then leaving the kids, right?
Right.
So they had like, and y'all can look this up. I'm not making it up. It's not because I'm drunk or nothing. So they had a whole bunch of kids for about a 30, 40-year span, maybe 40 to 60-year span, because I think it stopped in like the 60s, started in maybe 1920s or so, where they were just giving these kids up, putting these kids on islands, pushing them away.
Yep.
Because they're just like, hey, we don't know what to do with them. And if they didn't want to assimilate and kind of break off from their mother and the native, lands and customs and how they wanted to do it, if they didn't want to assimilate and just be white, that was going to be a wrap for them. And there was a high drinking rate, alcoholism, suicide rate, and everything else for those kids that were born in that time frame, raised in that time frame, because they were taken away all because of their skin color, where they came from. So what's interesting even in that, and we'll talk more about this in February, because we definitely going to go.
Oh yeah, February, June is going to be very dark.
What's interesting about that is how the fuck is it okay to fuck somebody who you clearly don't respect as a human being, let alone anything else, right? Let's start there. You don't respect them as human. And then it tears off into a whole bunch of other stuff. Good enough to nut in, not good enough to take care of your kid because your white wife or this white government or whatever the hierarchy is at that time deems that as deplorable, but it's not deplorable to fuck us.
It's crazy, right?
Never ever understand that, because that's gone on for centuries in different parts of the world.
Yeah, it's not just our country.
Know that until I started doing more research, after I couldn't believe it happened in Australia, because when you think about that stuff in the laws they passed to act, they didn't even give an apology to these kids that this happened to until about 1970s, 80s. That is not a long time ago. We were all born during that. We were born
those years. I know. That's the crazy. That's insane. But if you think about it, we have people alive who experienced that in person. So I don't, you guys know who Trevor Noah is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so his mom having him with his dad was illegal. He is an illegal child when he was born. And so his parents couldn't even live with each other, even though they weren't apart. They loved each other, so they kept in contact apparently, right? So Trevor got to see both of them, but I think he had to stay with his mom, because he had to stay with his mom, and he couldn't be with his dad because obviously if you look at him, he looks black.
Oh yeah, he was clearly more of the mulatto.
Right. So he basically, the fact that he's our age, my age, and was born into an illegal system where races are still not allowed to, this is the 80s that he was born in, which is mind-blowing.
And the shit didn't stop until 1994.
What? Right? Y'all, all of us was in school and
We're all
shit.
in school and shit in 1994.
Yeah. But, it's just it's just amazing how far people think it went on back in history. It's not even, history, hundreds of years ago. That was the slave trade, right?
People talk about it like it was thousands of years ago.
It's not.
And I'm like, honey, my 100-year-old grandma who's lived through everything, because clearly 100 years old. And even taking my mother and my father who have lived through all this, it's this is not thousands of years ago. Yeah. So because it's not thousands of years ago, don't think for a second, because we can drink out of the same water fountain. I don't have to sit in the back of the bus, that all this shit is over. It ain't over.
Oh,
it ain't over.
She's in the camera. But so I think your mom is about the same age as the woman who actually was the first black girl to be the first white school. Segregated.
Ruby Bridges.
What was her name? Ruby,
yes.
Ruby Bridges.
Yeah, so she's 65, 66 this year, I believe. She is everybody's grandma's age, basically. And for us, it would be our parents' age. For me, if my dad was alive, he would be 88 this year, and he went through segregation in the military and just growing up, where he had to lie about stuff because he was light-skinned to get into things. Which is also crazy,
because it's you want us to fight for the country, but you still gonna treat me like a nigga.
Yeah, because when they came back,
crazy.
My dad was flying. Well, he was one of the guys who worked on the planes with the Tuskegee Airmen, or the Red Tails. I know people know it both ways, but he was in that same squadron. And when people came back, they didn't have shit for them still. They acted. There's a reason why my dad was in the military for 28 years and they wouldn't promote him from staff sergeant and up. You know what I mean? 28 years for a white dude in the military at that time. He would have went all the way.
All the way up.
All the way up.
All the way up.
All the way up. But he finally got out. I think he went till 77-ish, you know, that was still like hardcore. Things were still going on. Like, it wasn't segregated, but it wasn't like desegregated mentally. I don't think it still is, really, if you think about it.
Oh, it's really not. They just learned how to kind of like hide stuff better.
Right.
And be more PC about stuff really in the 90s.
Yeah. They really did. And so, like, he kept working for the military, and it was cool, you know. I mean, GS jobs were great and everything, but like, if you think about how close the segregation really is to our generation, it is insane when I hear people talk about, oh, you guys are still mad about that. Because I think I've said it before, nobody tells white people who went through the Holocaust to stop thinking about it. People don't tell like other white folks who had to be like slaved or had to run away from their country to like stop talking about it. They're like reparations.
They don't tell them that because the issue, the root issue of anything having to do with Black people are undeniably, you know, people of color, people that can't pass, because I like that CJ says it like that when we have separate conversations. People that cannot pass as more white than anything else. The issue there is, it's like you realize that you're going to have to come down off of the privilege that you've been afforded because of your ancestors, because of how things have been set up, and you don't want to do that. So I'll always be on the stance of, people really don't want this country to be equal and fair, because that means you motherfuckers.
No, because people are going to have to face the guilt. People are going to have to face the music.
Exactly. You're going to have to face the music, and you're going to really have to realize, oh, when they say white privilege, they don't mean that sometimes I don't live paycheck to paycheck. They mean, wow, there's a different way in this world that I get to float around. There's a different way that I get to have a conversation with Connor when he turns 16 than Devontae's going to have when he turns 16. You don't want to deal with the fact that you've been afforded privileges that you may not view as a privilege because you're so lulled by it. It's crazy. Like, you're such a zombie in your privilege. You don't realize how good you do have it.
Let me tell you what happened to my friend over here a few days ago. She called me and was telling me she works at this place. It's an adult shop. And one of the little girls, who happens to be white, she's like 19 or 20, came out of the back room and she was like, we got some colored butts in the store. And my friend, who is Black, was like, wait, we have like purple and blue butts? I didn't see any colorful butts. Like, for me, and I'm sure for you guys, if you hear color, we think color of the rainbow, like red, green, blue, all of that. But she goes, no, I mean like brown and black ones. And my friend was like, did you just call it colored? Like, it's almost 2020. But here's the thing, and that's what we mean by white privilege, right? Because this girl is only 19, 20 years old. She talks like that because her family talks like that. Her family talks like that because it's not relatable to them that something like that is offensive. Now, she turned the table on this girl, because she's apparently gay or bisexual. And she was like, when her boss talked about trans men trying on lingerie in their store, she got upset because her boss was basically like, why would I want men trying on lingerie? Which I'm like, that's crazy. You're selling this stuff to everybody. Like, what does it? You gotta leave your shit out, like your personal shit, out of the store. Anyway, but she was like, yeah, that's fucking offensive. She was like, well, in the same way, like, you gotta understand that just because you don't relate to what the word colored means to you, but brown and Black people take offense to that shit. Like, literally, my last job, 2 months before I quit, this lady came looking for me, and she told my co-worker, she was like, where's that colored girl that works here? I'm like, this is like, what, 2 years ago? So 2017, end of 2017.
I believe it. I had a lady at the airport. I've heard a lady at the airport told me that I speak well, and I'm like, speak well for what? Because I know what you want to say.
Did you guys see?
She was older too, so I'm like, what does that mean?
Did you see our friend's post the other day? I'm not gonna put his name out there for this one. Our boy.
I didn't see it. What happened?
Because he got told. He got told that he spoke really good. He spoke impeccable English for being Asian. Yeah. And he was like, what the fuck?
And he speaks better English than I.
Like, also, he teaches. Like, so
what are you talking about?
He like speaks very well.
He's educated. What are you talking about?
And like
people are so stupid.
People, like, let me tell you how many times people find out that I'm half Asian and from Okinawa, and then they go, "Oh my God, you don't have an accent." I was like, "Oh, do you want me to talk like this?" Like, what the fuck?
First of all, I need you to talk like that from now on because I'm super into it.
Yes. Going forward.
Moving forward.
Moving forward, that's how you should speak. Your Honor.
This episode I talk like this the whole time. This episode I can talk like this the whole time. We talk about Christmas tree. We talk about the Yuletide rog. We talk about everything. No, for real. Like I feel like that's what people expect when I tell them I'm like part Asian and from Asia, and they're like, "Whoa, your English is perfect." Like, what the fuck does that mean?
They want you in these boxes, and all these boxes are white boxes. What white people think a race should be, or nationality, whatever you want to call it, what white people think it should be. And if you're anything outside of that, you're an anomaly. They're confused. What's going on?
And see,
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Do you think Americans white Americans go to like England and they're like, oh my god, you have an accent when you speak English? Like, it boggles my mind. Do they do it to each other? Do white English people tell American English speaking people that their English is terrible because we speak American?
No, but I've gotten compliments. So like, I really like your accent, and I'm like, well, you have an accent to me, like
right
to me.
I'm like, what do you need an accent?
It's just so weird to me that it's weird to me that we're in like this century, this 22nd century, and people are still like, oh my god, you speak great English. Oh my god, you don't have an accent. Like,
the more I'm understanding how stuff can carry over, the less shocked I am when stuff happens, because I know for real, I know for most people it's very easy to throw up, but it's 2019, or soon we're gonna be like, but it's 2020, and it's like, yeah, I get that, but also understanding now how stuff carries over. Genetically, spiritually,
that's true.
Understanding those two things,
family values.
I'm not shocked when I hear something like we have a president that says the blacks. Baby, when Donald Trump called us the blacks, I remember texting a couple of my friends like, I hope you know from now on.
Yeah, like when I got off the phone with my friend, I was like, well, this colored girl is out because I got stuff to do. Like,
I was like, I can't. And then the fact that you have millions of people, you have millions of followers that believe in that and didn't see anything wrong with it. I don't know if I told you guys this or if it happened after we recorded, but I had a person in management, and I want to talk about this on an episode in January. I do want to do that pet peeve episode because one of my big pet peeves is anybody homegirling me. My definition of homegirling is when you're trying to relate to a person of color, so you take stereotypical shit, and the next thing you know, you're talking like Snoop Dogg. So there's all these izzles and all this stupid stuff we don't even say. I
fucking hate that
because
shit.
You're trying to relate. That's what I call homegirling. So I had a person that was in management that saw that I was dressed up. Now, normally, Monday through Thursday, or even some Fridays, I'll be looking like a hobbit, y'all. I don't wear makeup every day. I don't be doing the wig thing every day. So when I do it up at work, at my day job, people always know I have something to do after work because I'm dressed up for work. So she couldn't believe it. She was walking behind me. She was like, oh my God, I didn't know that was you. I was like, who is that? And I was like, oh yeah, I got to work after work, whatever. And she was like, you look so good. She's like, you just look like you are just ready to walk right onto like a rap video set or something. And I was like, out of all the goddamn videos. It had to be a rap video. And then professionally, you're in this moment where it's like a Dave Chappelle skit when Keeping It Real goes wrong. Do I get her right now? Because you think this is okay because we've allowed this. You clearly said stuff like this before. No one's gotten you for it. And saying this to say, I know she didn't mean nothing by it. I know there was no malice intent behind it. I know she was just enamored with my look and she just was so taken aback that I was so pretty. I get it. However, out of all the goddamn video sets I could have been on, you're going to relate it to a rap.
But that's because
she could have said, you would look like you're ready for the Academy Awards. No.
I can't go to the Academy Awards.
You're right. You're right. But because of what we've been stereotyped as, that's where their mind goes.
I'm a rap video. And then I had on a sweater. I had on a goddamn sweater. What video set am I getting hired for? Well, a rap video.
That's because pretty black girl equals video vixen. That's why. I'm just saying. That's,
No,
I
it's
mean,
true.
tell me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. You're never wrong since day one.
Shut up.
So there's that. But two, you're right. Pretty black girl, it's like you were video vixen, you were over-sexualized, and that goes back.
Like you had a whole ass sweater on and she still said rap
I had
video.
on a whole, and not even like a sexy sweater. I was covered like this.
Yeah, but see, it didn't matter because in her head, black girl pretty equals video vixen. Anything that happens for a lot of people.
I was like,
it's just like when I talk about when people hear that I'm half Asian and they think docile. Nigga, I am far from docile.
You know what's crazy though?
What?
Actually, living in Asia, a lot of Asian women are kind of far from docile.
They are crazy.
Listen, baby, them attitudes are crazy.
Have you met my mom? You guys?
Those attitudes are crazy.
She is 4'11" of fucking feistiness. Like,
I used to think maybe because they so short, they just be so short-tempered.
I don't know.
And they just be going off. And
don't have
like,
enough. But no, for what Dee is saying, so that's what I mean. Like, so for Asian women, especially, Asian women who are from Asia equals docile and submissive. Because that's the stereotype.
When you trace that back to what you just said, the stereotypes go back to what white men want you to be. That's where it's all coming from. What do white men want Asian women to be? Docile. What do white men want black women or black men to be? You know what I mean? What benefits me? What stereotype of you benefits me? It benefits me that you're an Asian girl who likes to suck dick in a schoolgirl costume and you shut up when I tell you what to do. That's, when I tell you February, I'm ready, niggas.
You are ready.
I'm ready.
May is Asian Heritage Month along with Dee's birthday, so we're gonna have to do something.
We are
gonna
go in because this is what this all comes back, and we're not saying this like every white male or white person is bad.
No, of course not.
We're
I can't.
saying, like,
my fiance's white.
Right, she can't do it because she married the enemy, so that is what it is.
Oh, but he's learning a lot of stuff. He has we really do have conversations because he has used the word colored before, and I had to talk him into it because the history there, like they don't, like I said, like most people, I really think that 90% of white folks don't know that they're privileged or don't know they're passive racist.
They don't.
Yeah.
And then when you try to call them out on it, they get so defensive. And I'm like, this just speaks to your privilege. You can't even be wrong. Most white people I've ever had a conversation with, they can't even be wrong. They can't sit back and listen and be like, you know what? I don't know it all. I don't know your perspective. They just can't wait to be like, well, I have one black uncle. I have one black friend. I had a homeboy in college that sold me weed, so I got a black card. No, you don't.
One homeboy. Don't homeboy me.
You don't get it even with the females. I'm like, I don't care how much black dick you suck. Like, you ain't getting a punch card for that. Like, oh, you suck black dick.
10 dicks make you partially.
You get one free.
I hate that you said punch card. Who uses punch card? I thought it was like rewards cards now. You just slide that motherfucker in.
First of all, Noodle Cat uses punch cards.
Oh,
you will not come for Noodle Cat.
So
That's what
Noodle
you
Cat.
won't do. I love
Noodle Cat.
Noodle
It must be a Cleveland thing.
It's gotta be.
Noodle Cat is this Asian-inspired joint that's amazing. You guys would love it.
I knew it was Asian the minute she said it.
Of course. Because there's the cat, you know, the little cat that's like this on the card.
What's his name? What's his name?
It's Maneki Neko.
Also translate as CJ. So the CJ cat is there, and they punch your card, and they punch the little cat head. And I love it. Me and PJ love it. Anyway,
we are so off topic, y'all. We just went to a whole nother ballroom with this. We were supposed to be talking about Christmas. Let's come back to Christmas.
I mean, we have
been
talking about Christmas. Let's wrap Christmas up. Get it? Wrap it up.
Oh no, I can't.
Christmas.
Is there?
I
can't. Is there anything you guys are doing special tomorrow, like for Christmas?
I work at 8 a.m.
Oh, I'm sorry, D. Like I feel like D, you're gonna have more stories for us for the Christmas, like after Christmas holiday shit, because I know you're gonna be dealing with some mad customers and mad clients tomorrow.
Baby.
Why? Okay. My question. This is my huge question. So for all of you tourists out there,
moved.
Why do you bring your small children? Okay, 1, 2, they bring gaggles and gaggles
Not
of
gaggles.
small children
Gaggles.
to Las Vegas. That trips me out
I don't
all
know.
the time.
I would never bring my kid to Las Vegas.
Nope.
That's not a city.
Here's my thing. I wouldn't even bring my teenager really, because I feel like there's not much for teens to do. Even there's a couple sightseeing places like shows and stuff, but besides that, there's no nightlife for them. They can't get in anywhere.
They can't get in
Why
anywhere.
are you bringing them? It's fucking called Sin City for a reason. Like, we just go out there to do shit.
Yeah, you do.
That's what I'm saying. Like
your kid's 21st or something. You don't.
The only time it's okay to me, in my opinion, to bring kids here for any type of celebration is if you have family that's from here, or outside of the strip, outside of downtown,
like going out.
Area. Going out, we have a ski resort here, so that's great for kids.
See,
but they don't ever go there. They come to the heart of the fucking strip.
It's
where
so
it's all
weird.
debauchery and prostitutes,
do you have
drug
like
dealers and
you can't even use the bathroom without seeing the advertisement for the prostitutes and stuff. So I'm like, why would you? I remember because my dad thought it was a good idea to bring us there, and we were like 12 and something else. And I remember going to the bathroom, and I was like, "What is this say?"
Escort. Special kind of escort.
Girl, CJ, I was looking at that post like, what's this white girl doing? Why is they doing this?
And then he was like, oh my God.
Oh.
Like, what is going on? And that was in a bathroom. That was in a bathroom at Circus.
But like, so is there like a million kids running around right now in your hotels?
Always. We do have, so there's one thing that you can do where I work. We do have ice rinks, and there's several ice rinks that open up during the winter, which is cool. But in my opinion, I think that's more for local kids or like older kids that you bring.
Yeah,
like you have a 14-year-old,
so you're talking like they bringing people who are like 9 and below.
Yes, like we ran out of cribs recently. I was like, how the fuck did we run out of cribs?
Oh, they're bringing babies. They're not even kids. They're like
pushing
toddlers.
them in strollers. And I'm gonna tell you how bad it gets here. Not just during the holiday season. When I worked at Caesars, oh shit. Well, I don't work there anymore. When I worked at Caesars Palace, there was a incident. It was really, really sad. Baby had to be maybe 6 months old, and they were pushing this baby in a stroller all day. And it's summertime, and if you're in Vegas, it gets like 120 degrees
so hot.
easy.
Right.
Yeah, baby didn't survive.
They just had the baby out all day like that?
All day.
So he have heat exhaustion, and since nobody can tell, he probably fell asleep from being tired.
Exactly. And didn't make it.
You can't bring children to shit like that. You're not supposed to be doing all that.
The father had the baby. The mom was gambling at some casino. The father was just pushing the baby around all day. And the father's freaking out in the lobby. Because the baby has passed away.
I'm telling you,
very unfortunate.
The like you really can't bring children to shit like that. Holidays are crazy. Like I think people like try to do stuff for their families, and it, like I'm driving myself crazy. Like I'm about to start like baking and cooking in a minute too. I'm gonna do a few things tomorrow, I think. But like you shouldn't like involve your children into everything that's happening. Like going on trips
and all in the name of trying to possibly make this like super memorable moment, either to mimic something you grew up with or to make up for what you feel like you didn't get as a kid. And it's like, just enjoy what is. Do not I'm about to have a great Christmas because PJ and I are going to chill in the house, eat snacks, maybe make some s'mores, and binge watch Stranger Things.
See?
It's not going to be this whole big thing. And I don't care how many kids you have or don't have, or how much family's around you or not. We do this to ourselves.
Right.
We're to ourselves putting all of these unrealistic expectations on what Christmas Day morning, the presents, all this stuff should be. It does not need to be stressful. Like we talked about in the last episode, it doesn't need to put you in debt. It just doesn't need to be what people have made it to be. So I'd be really feeling bad for everybody that's just stressed out.
And you know what's crazy? Like the whole getting broke thing. Do you know how much Americans spend in that one season? I think it was one day or something on average during Christmas. The gift giving, $465 billion.
I was just going to say, I bet you it's in the billions. Not surprised.
465 billion with a B, not million, billion. And I'm just like, when I saw that article, I was like, it's insane. Like the fact that we go out and do all of this, I'm like, yeah, you want to like get good things for the kids or for your family, but you ain't got to lose your mind over it.
You don't have to lose your mind. Like I am cool with participating. Like there's some gifts like I have kind of hidden away for PJ because he doesn't think he's getting anything. I bought him some stuff ahead of time.
Right.
But then my mom came through with some stuff too. So we put all our stuff in a bag. So you're getting something. But I bet you everything that we have doesn't even like go over $50. Doesn't go over $100. It doesn't have to be this big thing. And I feel like that's where emotionally and mentally, that's where that exhaustion comes in. That's when you vibrating lower than what you really should be comes in, because you're doing all this stuff, trying to make up for it, trying to create this moment that it doesn't have to be. It doesn't
then
have to
at
be
the same time, you have creating these monsters. These kids think that they're entitled.
You know,
please say
just
that,
because it's the 25th of December. That shit is
hey, say it louder for the niggas in the back.
Demetrius said, y'all creating, because what I don't believe is, oh, kids are just born at. No. You were raising an entitled little bastard. That's what you're doing.
Do y'all see that thing circulating around the internet about was it the 10-year-old or something that was this list was ridiculous. One of the things on the list was like this new iPhone 11X 10-year-old. And then the next line was like $4,000 cash. And it just went on and on and on. And I'm like, how do they even know to ask for things like that?
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like my kiddo is like 4 and her list was like a toy panda, like stuff that, like, I feel like that's pretty normal. Like, I don't know, she wanted a desk though, because she's seen her older sister,
a desk?
A desk. She wants a desk.
That's a cool
little
thing. Like
my kids are weird. My oldest is the funniest. Like last year, her list incorporated like hangers, like the non-slip grip hangers.
Oh my God!
Yes.
I love it with the velvet coating on it.
I know what she's talking about. Those are great, depending on the fabric your outfit's made of. Those are great.
I was like, does she have kids too? She married
kids? I don't know, but like,
that.
And then that's when she was 14. The year before that, she was like, I would like a new bed frame. Like, it just like this year was like all like art, pens, and supplies.
That's literally PJ every year, and I'm totally okay with it.
And I'm totally okay with it too. Like, I mean, if that's what they want, that's what they want. Like, that's creative. But it was just like, I think last year was the funniest with the hangers. That's my favorite right now. Like hanger.
I used to ask for those chocolate covered cherries every year.
Ew, the cordial cherries.
I used to love those.
Me and Brandi like, they're like $1 at the BX.
My mom to this day will give me a box for Christmas. I don't even like them that much anymore, but yeah, she'll give me a box. Because I'm like, I just want chocolate cherries. I don't care.
Oh my God, that's so terrible. You know what though? My oldest puts food on there, so like she'll put like Asian candy. This year she put banana milk on it because her Filipino side is coming out, and she's been eating a lot of Filipino food and trying like I guess like exploring her Filipino culture and stuff on her mom's side, like her biological mom's side. So she's been like, I got her a 6-pack of banana milk and she was like ecstatic. I was like, all right, then that's cool.
Oh, so Rob's ex is Filipino?
She is Filipino, Korean, and part Chinese, I think.
I know that's right. Rob said, I'm getting all the Asian bitches. What y'all want to do?
All of them. That's I guess that's his taste in women. He likes them brown. Here I am. Fun fact. She has almost the same real name as I do. 1 letter difference. I'll tell you guys later. If you don't know me from back in the day, I'm not going to say it out loud on the podcast.
I will say it's a hit song.
Yes. So, you know, but like, it's just so funny. It's so funny when I go to the school to pick her up for a while there, they would be like, oh, like your last name is different. Did you guys just get married? I was like, as a matter of fact, no, that's his ex's name. I'm actually under emergency contact. And yes, I'm the other J. Like, so annoying to do. Soon that will be over. There will be just one of me with the last name.
Oh, so you're going to get rid of her? Is that what it is? Soon
well, no, she already changed her last name because she got remarried a few months ago. So,
okay.
Yeah, so she, you know, like we just have to change it up. It's just so weird that we both have the same name. It's just
Rob knows what he's doing. I feel it.
He do. He was like, let's just keep it simple.
Yeah, he was like, I need to do something simple. I can't do this.
No,
Anyway.
so terrible. Anyway,
in conclusion,
if you celebrate Christmas, have fun, go at it. Don't go broke doing it. Like we're close. We're close. Me and Rob will be waiting for a paycheck, but we planned it out where we it's not like we don't have food and stuff. That's the problem. I think people actually do use their light bill or
that's the best broke to be, when you're waiting on the next paycheck but you have food, because you're like, I don't feel this.
Yeah, it's like a different kind of broke when you got food, the light bills paid, the electricity
all your bills are paid.
All your bills are paid.
Oh no, that's called responsible broke.
Right. So that's responsible. Yeah, you're right. That's responsible. Like, so
that's
if
responsible broke. Which actually hurts more than irresponsible broke, because
you're trying to be responsible.
Listen, with my credit score going up and with me saving money, because I'll pay off. I didn't realize how much my credit score was jumping until I realized I'm paying each like debt collector just a little bit at a time.
Right.
But collectively, that's a lot, and it ends up jumping it up. So I finally was paying attention to Credit Karma, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this has been going this," and normally I ignore it. So I was like, wow, I'm up here feeling like shit, because I'm like, man, I don't have no money, when really I'm investing in myself now into my future. But that responsible broke hits different. It definitely
does.
Sucks.
It sucks, but like at the same time, it's like worry free. Like, so like when I say responsible broke, got food in the house, like I planned my meals out all the way to New Year's. I got 2 weeks worth of groceries, like
got to,
and alcohol and
everything you need.
I got everything I need. I got enough money still left for gas. and this is like, and then so we exclude this, like our brokenness is excluded from our savings, because savings is like a no touch.
It's another,
It's an emergency fund. Like if I have to go into it, it's there. So when I say I'm broke, I mean like my checking accounts are broke, but my savings is still, plumped up. Like we good. Like good to go. Like I think that people forget to do things like that, especially around the holidays. That's why I made that meme, like you using light bills to pay for your fucking Christmas gifts.
Your memes, by the way, have been amazing.
Yeah,
I went to our page.
Did you see
now that
yours,
I can finally log in, because
that was the best.
It was so good. Like CJ, you are really doing it. I looked at the page.
One of my friends complimented me, or complimented us.
Oh yeah,
really you for your memes.
They're good. I went to our page and almost forgot I was a part of it. I'm like, this is so good.
I tested it out this week. Our audience is mostly POC. I figured it out because I went and did a couple of memes that are different this week to see how the responses are, and you can tell on our business hindsight stuff. So I'm gonna be catering to all our POC people too. Love it. I love that we have a mixture of people like listening to us. I think it's great that there's like white folks, Asian folks, everybody just like in it. And the comments are great. Like I try really hard to at least like the comment or respond to everybody, or like Brandi or D can too. Like it's people are in on it. That Eminem one was the funniest. People
really
going hard.
I went to a couple in a day, and I'm just like, this is so funny. I think I commented on one, and I said I was hollering because I just read it before we logged in tonight, and I'm just like, this is so funny. CJ has a gift. This is amazing.
Yeah,
I try. I only did a few today. I'm gonna try to put some up tonight so that I don't have to get on my phone tomorrow for Christmas. So y'all, there might be like 4 or 5 instead of the regular 7 or 8 tomorrow.
But there's still memes and still keeps the page going and that interaction going, and people interact more off of memes than anything else. But I notice a lot of the pages that I follow, if they have a lot of memes, I'm more like apt to respond to something that's like a regular post because I feel like I know them through their memes.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So
which is also why I incorporate us into it.
It's so weird. But when they do post some real shit, I'm like, oh man, you sick? I hope you feel better.
Right.
But I've been following you for memes for years. I don't know you, but I feel like I do because you've been posting memes.
Rob said he liked my Jay-Z one the best so far this week.
Hilarious.
Y'all seen that one?
My favorite one so far was like the flex tape one, or is it slapping the triangle?
Are you stressed out? You stressed? Just fix it with some triangle.
Triangle. Like
I don't know. I'm really proud of my D meme too, because I was like, those two pictures are perfect.
Hilarious.
And your Yoda ones.
Oh,
The Yoda one was good.
Yodas are funny too. I love my fucking Yodas. I don't know what to do without them. So now I have to keep track of all my memes. I have a meme generator app where I can make some stuff too.
You are killing it. And I love that you're doing memes and relevancy to what's going on. Because I was like, Yoda memes are still hot. CJ's on it. Like,
I'm loving it. Man, when the Jay-Z one came out, I was like, I think Brandi posted the blank one. So I went and found a blank one. And I was like, this is literally us. Like, my face is like Jay-Z. And look at Pharrell and fucking Diddy over here, Brandi and D. Kanye is just that crazy shit. And I was like, this is literally what our podcast is. And I think we got a really good response on the ice cream
we did
on Facebook, because people I was like, this is what it feels like to listen to us.
Which that one had me weak too, because I'm like, I love that people say they feel like they talk back to us. I love that. That's something that you can't pay for.
That is awesome.
So between, this is no shade, but take it how y'all want, whoever's still listening. Between us being consistent,
yes,
and between us being genuine, that's gonna take us places where all the fake shit can't take you, because consistency is our friend. Us staying true to ourselves.
I just think it's boring when it's like scripted.
People feel it.
Like, you know what I mean?
You can't script this shit with us.
No, especially with these motherfuckers. Like, here's the thing. Like, when I listen to other podcasts too, like, oh my God, dude, put that bottle down. The Gatorade episode was episode 3. Like, we in 25 or some shit. Calm down.
Oh, man.
And if you guys are wondering, go check it out. I mean, seriously, because when I listen to podcasts that I love, it's literally unscripted. I mean, they have topics like we do too, but I hate the ones that are like super scripted and there's no personality because they're reading off of something the whole time. It's one thing like if you're providing information and then going on to that topic, but then because we do that sometimes too, but I'm talking like there's some out there that I had to like just stop 2 minutes in. I'm like, these niggas is just like,
but then you can tell the people also, because I've had friends like this too, you can tell the people that are just so externally focused, where they're worried about saying the wrong thing, so you can tell. And their delivery and their tone, I just be like, you just seem like you're just trying to say the perfect thing.
Oh yeah.
Just censor yourself all the way up right now.
Look how folks was sounding. How folks was sounding on the private
episode. Yourself. Too fucking much. Be real. Keep it real.
I know that I say this almost every episode. If y'all have some time and want to go check us out on YouTube, please do, because look at these stupid niggas. Like, I can't. Brandi about to have some kind of Powerball. D, put the bottle down. We ain't putting. No, D, stop. I hate you. Oh my God. No, like I had one of the
Merry Christmas.
No, not Merry Christmas. He just put his bottle through his hand. Episode 3 is where he talks about a Gatorade bottle up somebody's
that was just
butt.
like,
so, Merry Christmas to that. Yeah, no. But like I've had one of the girls tell me that she watches us on YouTube like every week. Stop pamming. Stop pamming.
I'm sorry. Who watches us every week?
Sorry.
Was it her? Or was it
I was trying to make my Jay-Z face right now. Just I can't.
I'm sorry. Who watches us? Was it Pam?
Was it Pam?
Y'all, we losing our mind. Let me wrap this nigga up.
Who watches us? I'm sorry. I want to know.
It was one of my old employees. I mean, I hate saying that, but that's where we met. But we're like friends now. Like I was just.
She loves saying it. Like
you'll meet her at the wedding.
Worked for me.
No,
she worked
like
for me.
Worked with me.
Worked for me. Old employee.
Worked with me. Well, I just happened to be the manager. That's all. Like
I could have never worked for CJ because the first time he tells me to stop being so goofy, I quit.
The first time CJ threatened to write me up, I was like,
yes! No. Like you're right
no, you did work with me. What are you talking about?
I worked for you before too, and you threatened to write me up.
Yeah.
Yes, to work for you. Talk about work with you. D said he worked for you.
He got promoted, so then it was with. Like.
Then it was with, like, after I got promoted. But that first few months, I was like, oh, she's mean. She's so mean.
Listen, there must be some kind of love out of that. Okay.
The worst.
There's people around me from my workspaces that still fuck with me, so I must be nice some way.
And we lived in the same place.
Yeah,
I was like, how are you threatening to write me up? And then we both go home.
We gotta go home to the same place.
And then go home.
And go home and drink.
You go home, she takes your spoon from you, and she's like, so how was your day?
How was your day?
How was your day? How did it feel to be wrong all day?
Oh, stop. You guys are terrible. There was
She
a
was
comment.
like, it was only a record of conversation.
There was a comment on the YouTube channel about the last one where y'all picked on me for like 20 minutes. Somebody enjoyed that
we
thoroughly.
Oh, that
thoroughly enjoyed.
That
they
was
were like,
good.
I
We do it for the people. We do it for the fans.
We do it for
and
you
I
guys.
take it for you guys.
We do
I
it for
take
you
it for you guys. So terrible.
That was organically the greatest thing ever.
It probably
was.
was. They were talking about how you guys were like D was pretending to
Demetrius,
do
we
my
were just
hand
like,
thing.
let's just drag her.
God. I can't. But I'm
my
so
God.
glad that people were enjoying our stupidity and our shenanigans and all the crazy things that we talk about, because I really purely enjoy like chatting it up with y'all. Like,
I just know.
for real, like, you know, I just want to put it out there for our end of the year episode that we love each other, even with this craziness.
Now, is this
like,
for real end of the year? Because I thought New Year's was
no, because we'll
Wednesday?
record the next one on Monday, but it's gonna drop on New Year's.
Okay, so we can tell everybody Happy New Year and all that stuff.
On the
okay,
next one, yeah. So this is literally the last one for.
Oh my God! Look at us,
2019.
Last one for 2019.
Yes,
this is so exciting.
It's so insane. Like,
y'all.
oh, speaking of which, starting next year, we should be dropping 2 episodes a week. We're gonna do one with our topics and our fan picks and fan questions still, and then we're gonna do probably a short one on the current events, because I feel like we're missing out on that a lot, and when we don't get to talk about, you know, Kanye's new gospel career or or the impeachment,
or Nick Cannon
and Eminem, or the impeachment and how people don't understand how that works. You know, shit like that. So I think
I loved people getting excited about the impeachment. Meanwhile, it was like, do you remember when Clinton
got impeached? Remember?
Yeah.
I'm like, because he was definitely still president, bruh. So
you still have to go through different stages for it to be a complete kick out of the office scenario.
That's the scary part of people not understanding. But I'm like, the more people that understand that, that's going to be scary for the people in power. Because the more people that understand, hey, there are dozens of other people that really run this shit behind you. You're the face to pacify the people, but you don't really do shit.
You know what?
Deliver the message, but you don't really
I was talking to my kiddo the other day. She said that they don't teach like all the the judicial systems and stuff in school anymore. Like there's no social study classes that we had where we learn, like they still get the basics of the legislative process and things like that. They don't do the nitty gritty like we got. They don't do that anymore.
But I will say, even what we got, I still feel like it's surface level in comparison to what I'm teaching myself now.
Oh, absolutely. What I found out on my own is like crazy.
We got through a run-through course enough to like pass a test. But then when you get in the real world, between like, there's just so much stuff people don't know. They don't know about the power.
You know,
they don't know about the power of voting local more so than
I was just going to say that right there.
Learning all my local stuff, knowing if you don't know who your mayor is, if you don't like all this stuff that people don't know locally.
Hey, Miss Goodman.
Come on, Miss Goodman. You listen, Miss Goodman. We don't tag her in this.
I'm not saying that to try to make people feel bad. It's just important to know the lawmakers in your little county, in your little city, what you can change for yourself locally as well as nationally, but what you can change locally, because there were a lot of stuff being passed that I didn't pay attention to when I was voting and locally until my brother went to jail. Then I'm like, hey, this would be important in Ohio because when he gets out, I would like him to have access to A, B, and C.
Right.
So I'm going to vote for his best shot to have access to A, B, and C. But it's stuff you just really aren't paying attention to.
People, they don't teach
looking
us
at
that shit
memes,
anymore.
or you're pacified by what's going on in the television, and all that stuff. So it's hard to do, but if you just do a little bit of local research a day, educate yourself on it, and then teach your kids. That way, when they are leaving your house, they can understand what's going on locally as far as their government. They can and that's just as important to me as knowing what all the lights mean on your car or knowing how to do your taxes.
Right.
It's real shit.
Girl, when my little one told me that she didn't know, they didn't teach her what the radio was in school, I said, why do you not know what the radio is?
Wait, what?
Yeah, so I was in the car and I was listening to some random, Russ Martin show or something was on. And she was like, God, I hate this podcast. It's so boring. I was like, this is not the podcast. This is a radio show. And she was like, isn't that the same thing? I was like, no. She was like, well, they don't teach us stuff like that in school. I'm like, what?
It's really up to the parents. And as much as most parents probably don't want to hear that and deal with it, you really have to teach your kid what you want your kid to know. You gotta teach them yourself.
His mind is blown. But so here's the thing, as a parent, because that's my kiddo, I didn't even think twice that I need to explain like what a radio is to her. You know what I mean? Like, it's not.
You know what?
That crossed my mind.
Is making them, and I say making them because I like forcing my kid to watch stuff that I watch and love. But he understands so many references and things because of movies that I've had him watch. So from a radio to a payphone and stuff, the movie gave you it all. So I loved Ghostbusters growing up. I got him into Ghostbusters. Now there's a whole bunch of stuff we already connect on because you understand what life was like in the 80s just based off a movie. Because that's not something that most parents are going to be like, let me sit you down and tell you about A, B, and C. Also, did you know Netflix actually has a bomb docuseries that was done by Tom Hanks about the different decades, and they go into what was happening politically, and they go into the big things that was happening in the entertainment industry, and it's this perfect blend of describing each decade. And he doesn't, like, even when they're talking about politics, it's not like he's out with an agenda or vilifying one party or another. Right. He's laying out the facts. So when I watched 80s and they went into Nixon and Watergate and stuff, I was like, this shit is good. This is something that you watch for yourself or watch with your kids. And I started watching with PJ when they got to the 90s because he's just like obsessed with how we grew up. So he's like, man, I wish I had grown up like y'all, or I want to know.
They trying to do it now. My little one walking around with a scrunchie in her head. Do you know that's coming back? The whole visco girl thing is the new value.
Now I know what my mom was complaining about when we were obsessing about bell bottoms, and she's looking at me like, girl.
I was like, her friend just bought like $10 worth of scrunchies on Amazon. She got 40 pieces and was like giving it out at school or some shit. I was like,
well, tell her to let me know when the butterfly.
Wait, when did people stop wearing scrunchies? I didn't know that went away.
Well,
I thought it was just something to hold your hair up.
Well, fashion-wise, it was not cute.
It was dated.
Yeah,
fashion-wise,
it's like you probably saw it on older women. Like, like our generation used it as part of our fashion trend. Then we stopped, right?
And then literally what we did, we went from it being in our heads to when we were younger to just on our wrists. Yeah. And then they were obsolete.
It was gone.
Then you ain't wearing no more.
No, they're doing the same thing right now.
They're like doing it for real. And they have cute ones, girl. I see some satin and velvet ones. They're cute.
They're like upgraded versions. I almost want to buy some.
But I
don't want to do it.
Like,
I don't
remember? It's totally my scrunchie and you know it.
And you know it.
Remember that shit?
Yes. Those were the best commercials. And you know it.
It's like the weirdest thing because I'm watching my 15-year-old do the same shit that I did in high school. And I can't. Like, you know those tattoo necklaces? Because it was hot like 2 years ago when it came back around. My kid was wearing it and I had to wear it to work because we sold it at work. Like, so both of us in the house.
With tattoo necklaces on.
I'm like 30-something years old with a tattoo necklace, and I have my little teenager wearing the same shit. I'm like, I can't. I was like, this is too much. Or we had the same skater skirts, shit like that.
Oh my God, I love skater skirts.
I Look.
What the fuck is a skater skirt?
It's like the
Demetrius,
skirt
you
that
have like
flares out a
12
little.
skater skirts. You don't.
I told you D is a terrible gay.
D is the worst gay ever. I'm like, can you be more entertaining for our sake? Thank you.
Sorry. So it does what? It goes out?
It's it's A line, but the shorter version. Because there's A line that's long, which is T length, and it's a maxi skirt. And he look at him.
You're speaking French to him right now.
Okay.
I'll send you a picture of it later.
To the bad gay. Don't
explain. Is it like
I mean,
grooves in the heart? Like that skirt?
Grooves in the
Is that what it is?
Not quite. But it's okay. We'll get you some.
She meant that song when she hit that groove when she went up with it. She meant that song.
I'm done. Anywho, we were supposed to wrap it up 10 minutes ago, so we're gonna wrap it up. I want to say happy holidays to all the listeners and viewers. If you're loving what you're hearing and seeing, make sure you subscribe to your favorite platform for your podcast, or hit the like button and the notification bell on YouTube. Don't forget to like and comment on it too. We will comment back. We promise. Might take a couple of days because we be in and out of stuff, but we do love hearing from you. Also, don't forget that once a month we're doing our fan episode. So if you have questions, topics you want to discuss, stories you want to tell us so we can read it on the episode, we are down to do that. I think we have one more story from like one of our friends that we can read on our next one too.
Cool.
Okay.
So
cool.
We'll be able to do
and
that.
We need a name. We need you guys to give us a name, like for the fans. Like we need a name for you guys.
Yeah, like the triangle something. I don't know. Oh, and we're going to start sending out little tidbits of our YouTube channel on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah,
maybe like little short 3-minute versions of it so y'all can get a taste when you're in a hurry and don't have the time. You just on a break, need a quick laugh. Just come on down to our Instagram or Facebook page. And I believe starting the new year. Oh my God, Brandi.
Yeah.
You gotta hit the throat.
You do. Everybody can do that if you're Black. I just want my older brother used to laugh at me because I would do the church songs like that. And he'd be like, how? I'm like, you're Black too. You can do it.
Oh my God, the Black growl. Yeah, and you know who does that? And to be doing it and don't even need to do it, but she do it just to prove she can sing. Christina Aguilera, love a good growl. And I'm like, girl, the Black people have already accepted you. You don't have to
keep doing it. You don't have to.
We're good.
Really don't.
You keep doing. That's a good episode to have too. All the people who are passing, who are actually.
Oh, baby, do you know I wrote that down? I have an email to send you guys because we're going to do an episode titled "The Problem with Justin Timberlake," and that's the title. And then it's going to go into everyone else that fits.
Let's do it. I even have something on
totally
Eminem.
Doing it.
So, when he released Eminem with his crazy song that was called Black Girls Are Stupid. I don't know if people know about that.
Well, even him really never.
Eminem
him truly never acknowledging his privilege.
Before he got famous, he wrote that song. And stuff like that. Yeah, there's a lot.
But they feel protected when they have people in their corner like Timbaland and Pharrell and people. Then they feel. I've noticed with some white people, all they need is like just one Black person that's okay with them, and then they're like, well, it's okay. Like that girl that's cool with Alicia Keys and said nigga, and then was like, well, Alicia's cool, baby. Alicia may be cool, but we said no.
No, the rest of
Alicia don't speak
the
for
Black
all
congregation already know.
Yeah,
Alicia done lost her. God took her voice when she took that lady's man. So Alicia already got half her fucking card revoked. Let's not.
It's like Ursula took
I'm just saying, like, Alicia ain't been the same ever since she took somebody's man. God don't like ugly. That's why her voice sound like that now. I'm not trying to be ugly.
That means she sound crazy. She sound crazy. I keep on stealing me.
Disclaimer is coming. I hate all of y'all. I can't. Anywho, let's wrap this. We're getting crazy. It's late. All right. So
it's late. I gotta finish cooking.
Yes. I gotta finish cooking too. Thanks for listening.
And I have to not cook because I'm not cooking.
I'm done. Me too. Have a wonderful rest of the 2019. We'll catch you back here on 2020.
2020. See
2nd
y'all
of
2020.
January from the get-go. We have a great rest of your holidays. Be blessed. enjoy your solstice. Whatever you do. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. What else is there?
All of that. It's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of shit. Rosh Hashanah. I don't know what the fuck.
Okay. Happy do your research.
Yeah, happy do your research.
Happy do your research.
See you in 2020.